What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Gooner channel, a channel 100% dedicated to the Arsenal, who, as we all know, are by far the greatest team the world has ever seen. We definitely get our money's worth as Gooners, don't we? Arsenal always deliver excitement, and yesterday was no different as Arsenal's late show left lamentable Leicester languishing near the bottom of the league. Were you worried? Arteta saying today that he had his moments of concern in the game. And in a nod to Babs14, one of the most prolific content creators, Arsenal content creators on the YouTuber sphere, he's accredited, I think, with the format 5 things we learnt from the game. So what I thought I'd do is, rather than just completely stealing his format, there are 7 things. You get extra value on the Gooner. 7 things that I wanted to talk about from yesterday's game. There are lots more things we could talk about, particularly what this means for the league. And I will be covering that in content to come. But in this video, I'm going to be talking about the 7 things that really stood out for me. Now, the first one of those I want to talk about is Gabriel Martinelli, because he has come under increasing criticism from within the club, from fans within the club. Now, I know that Arsenal fans is a broad spectrum. You've got the hopelessly optimistic ones who think everything's great all the time. And then you've got, right at the other end, fans that just seem really quick to be angry about players, the manager, other fans. Most of us, I think, and the reason for this channel is that most of us inhabit that sort of middle ground where football is something that gives us a huge amount of enjoyment and isn't something that we need to become totally miserable about. Yes, but Martinelli has come under increasing criticism because of the long streak that he hadn't scored. And for me, I kind of felt like I was moving towards the concern that perhaps Gabriel Martinelli is not the player we'd all hoped him to be. Perhaps his form had dipped because the team had evolved beyond him. That has happened to players that I really love. But I wasn't sure. Over the last few weeks, I had started to become frustrated with him. But the question for me was always, is Martinelli underperforming? Or is it that, look, Granit Xhaka leaving at the start of last season to go and prevent Harry Kane from winning any silverware left a gap in our midfield, a gap that wasn't adequately covered by Kai Havertz, who, as we all know now, plays far better up front than he does in midfield. We also lost Zinchenko early in the season, despite having a really good start, and never quite found the perfect replacement. Jakub Kiwior and Tomiyasu, both good. Defensively, don't really give you the same support going forward. So with Declan Rice not really performing in the way that Granit Xhaka does, with Jakub Kiwior and Tomiyasu playing as much as Zinchenko, I felt that the reason Gabriel Martinelli wasn't getting into games is because we were so concentrated down that right-hand side. Ben White, Odegaard and Saka forming that trio. Most, if not all, of our good work was going down the right, and therefore Martinelli wasn't really given the chance to shine. In games where I really thought he would, though, recently, he still didn't look up to it. Now, we saw a better Martinelli against City, but yesterday he looked really good. A goal and an assist. He took his goal really well. It did come from a move on the right with a lovely reverse pass from Saka to the overlap by Timber. Timber plays it in. Martinelli gets in exactly the right position and finishes it beautifully to the bottom left-hand corner. So again, the creativity on the right, but this time Martinelli more in the box than we're used to seeing and full of confidence. 1-0 and we're off to the races. Looks like it's going to be a great day. Has Martinelli therefore signalled that he's back? One of the things that really stood out was that him and Calafiori form a much better partnership than I think we've seen so far. And we still have Marino to come in. But Declan Rice, Calafiori and Martinelli gave us options. Yesterday, for the first time in so long, it felt like we were strong down the left and the right. And I understand it's against Leicester and that they'd come to defend and they didn't really have much of the ball. When you have 75% of the possession, it's possible to look better, unless you're Man City, of course. But we can say, I think, that Gabriel Martinelli is much better supported by Calafiori. And that brings me to my second talking point from the game. But so far, if you're enjoying it, then don't forget to hit like and subscribe. It is the lifeblood of any small channel and helps us to build a community of like-minded individuals. So, Calafiori's defending. Look, you can't argue with his first league start against Manchester City. Will, of course, forever be remembered for the outstanding goal he scored. And before we carry on, I just want to say, I have heard elements, mostly Man City elements, questioning whether he meant it. He meant it. He's celebrating before the ball actually hits the back of the net. And apart from anything, how salty do you have to be to not observe that he meant that goal? But it's kind of neither here nor there. He will certainly be remembered for it. What a debut goal that is. Reminds me of Freddie Ljungberg coming on against Manchester United and scoring and getting a yellow card. So everyone will talk about and remember Calafiori's goal. And of course, the incredible rearguard action where it took Manchester City playing against 10-man Arsenal 56 minutes to score a goal, which I think is disappointing. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. It is relevant to yesterday's game. But Calafiori's defensive rearguard action and his goal will get all the plaudits, I'm sure. And that's what we will remember. But he was spun pretty badly by Savinho for the first goal. And I can't help thinking that we're in danger as a fan base a little bit of the shiny new toy syndrome. Calafiora, he does have an aura. He does come with flowing locks and powerful forward running. He is exciting on the ball. He does have drive forward and ambition, but he does have defensive frailties as well. And isn't that also true of Zinchenko? So which of those two players is the better player? Are we going to see defensive frailty from Calafiori? Is he now starting to cement himself as a left-back position? Because the other talking point for me was that with Calafiori coming into the left and Jurrien Timber playing on the right, was that possibly the best we've seen of Jurrien Timber? I know when we signed him, we thought we were signing a right-back and right centre-back. But then, of course, Arteta, being Arteta, decided to play him on the left. And very quickly, even while injured, people started thinking he's our best left-sided defender. We do have so many options there. But I think playing on the right, again, the overlap for the reverse ball from Saka, the pass into the area assist, I've enjoyed Ben White there a great deal. But is Ben White going to lose his place in this back four? Going into the game against Manchester City, I was talking about the red wall. I was talking about Jurrien Timber, Ben White, Saliba and Gabriel as the red wall. Of course, it changed in the City game and we saw a really good defensive performance. Now, I'm not overlooking the fact that in the two games where Calafiori started on the left and Timber started on the right, we have conceded 4 goals, which is a huge number compared to what we've become used to. But there are mitigating circumstances. Against Manchester City, to concede the 1 goal in the way that we did was sloppy at the beginning. But the second goal, I don't think any team in the world can hold out for 60 minutes against what is supposed to be the best team in the world, 11v10. Yesterday, the 2 goals, one was a really unlucky deflection from a free kick. Can't really blame Kai Havertz for it. The second, though, was Calafiori slightly to blame? Am I being really unfair? Wasn't quite close enough to James Justin, but no one's expecting him to ping it like that. And fair enough. Look, we conceded to a deflected free kick and a worldie. And I don't think that's going to happen every week. But Jurrien Timber did look really, really good at the right-back position. And you do now start to think, is Ben White going to be the player who loses his place? I guess my concern is that Calafiori hasn't had a chance yet to make defensive blunders that could cost us a game. And if that starts to happen, then do we turn on him like we did on Zinchenko? Because Zinchenko revolutionised the way we played at the back, and in a really positive way. Gabby Jesus and Zinchenko coming in when they did gave us that tonic to go on and title challenge for the first time. But fans have kind of turned against both of them now. Calafiori, at the moment, looks like a great player. He's still young and he's still a project player. But if he has cemented his position at left back, then it's going to be down to Timber and Ben White for the right side. I like that both of those two players can come in if there's an injury. I love that Calafiori has played at centre back for us midweek as well. I think our defence looks better than it's done in probably decades. But my question around Ben White, I'd hate to see him lose his place. football moves on, right? Let me know what you think in the comments. The next thing that really stood out for me was the fans. Over the last couple of years, we have been treated to suddenly being title contenders. The first time it happened, it was a blip. The other teams had fallen away and left room for us to challenge. And although we spent 90-something% of the time at the top of the table, it was easy for people to say, oh, well, they won't do that again. They've blown their best chance. And then last year, we came back, won more games than we ever had, scored more goals, and took it to the last game of the season against Man City. So now people are kind of used to us title challenging. But the fans, I think, are changing. The Emirates atmosphere seemed incredible yesterday. And when the board went up with 7 minutes, I feel like there was a ton of belief that despite it being 2-2, and I won't pretend that I wasn't a little anxious, but at 2-2, it still felt like we were going to do it. And I think that as fans, the mass of us have been guilty of not quite believing in the team quite enough. If we're going to win a league, I think we have to play our part and draw that ball into the back of the net like the Arsenal fans seemed to do yesterday. Not just once, but twice. And that takes me to another point, which is, I think, of the title challengers, and I'm not discounting Liverpool, I think Liverpool could go the distance, and Chelsea worry me a little bit. I think as it stands right now, Manchester City, Arsenal and Liverpool certainly look like teams that can push this all the way to the wire. And what's going to be important for all of us at the top of the table is how we play against the low block. Now, last Sunday, against a resolute 10-man defence, Manchester City seemed completely out of ideas, playing the ball in front of our defence without ever really using the width. Of course, when Grealish comes on, that changes. Pep had left it really late to do that. Foden didn't seem to bring that spark with him, and he's such a good player last season. Without wanting to get into there were problems at Manchester City, I think it's easy to see that ahead of time and then they turn out to fix it. But in terms of as a team that is expecting to, and will have to, break down low block teams that come back to defend at the Emirates and away, I think yesterday we saw that we're equipped to do that. Certainly better than Manchester City were. So with the fans right behind the team, with the team seemingly set up to work out how to move and pass really quickly in tight spaces, I think I'm optimistic about us not getting any of those irritating draws which will cost us so much, which will cost us so dearly if we aren't able to win at home. So I'm optimistic about us being able to break down teams that come to defend, which is going to make a huge difference to the points tally at the end of the season and whether we're able to win the league or not. I'm going to be hugely optimistic this season. I'm going to do what I want everyone to do, which is just believe that we are going to win the title, that we have City rattled, that we have enough about us to not lose games, to grind out wins instead of draws. But if you think I'm being too optimistic, let's have a discussion about it. Get in the comments. And the final thing, but there's two more things. First of all, Saka, 6. Becomes the first Premier League player to assist in 6 of the first 6 games. 6y football. Love him so much. He looked amazing yesterday. Getting to that byline, just everything we love about Bukayo Saka. He looks rested. He looks fit. He looks on top of his game. What a player. All of the questions around who's better, him or Foden, irrelevant. At the moment, I think he gets into any Premier League side, with the possible exception of Liverpool, who have a fondness for Mo Salah. But for me, I wouldn't be swapping Mo Salah for Bukayo Saka right now. Our star boy is only just getting started. But 6 times in the first 6 games, he's laid on a goal, which is all you can ask for, right? And finally, for the conspiracy-minded, Leandro Trossard, when he celebrates his first goal, he's still muted. It can't be because he's not starting. So is he unhappy we didn't let him go to Saudi? Is he happy? I think the answer to that question is probably found in the way he celebrates the winner. As he runs around celebrating that, I think we may have seen the last of his slightly muted celebrations. Or maybe it is just something he's decided to do to be too cool for school. But yesterday's last gasp tap in, which he won't be credited with a goal for, which, is fair enough. It's an own goal. But of all the players to score from a corner, just so much love for Leo Trossard. Such a great signing and an important player. How you can play him, Odegaard, Kai Havertz, Saka, Martinelli, it's going to be difficult. We also have Marino to come in. Declan Rice is an ever-present. But these are good problems to have. In the end, Manchester City dropping those points to Newcastle had put so much pressure on the game against Leicester. It was just a relief that we held up to it, that the fans stayed strong all the way through it. And seeing Leo celebrating as he did, well, a really good day to be an Arsenal fan, as all days are. Now I'm off to watch Manchester United and Tottenham Hotspur banter it out for mid-table mediocrity. Join me for the live watch-along if you're watching this in time to do that. Otherwise, you'll find the recording of it on the channel. And thanks to everyone who subscribed this week. We've had a fantastic week. And of course, all of the rest of you who've been subscribed for ages and make this channel what it is. And until I see you again, be lucky. Lots of love.